So this is C7 bilateral. So we got a compression, all right? Fixation, if you will, from the right on the posterior, anterior on the left. So the strike angle is going to come through this way. I don't want to start the head in an extension when I palpate because it's going to throw off my palpation, right? So we always try to bring our palpation from a neutrality. We feel in a compression first. Otherwise, if you start poking and prodding, you lost your connection. So we connect and we continue the compression, noticing what we notice. So here we have compressed CO on C1. Yeah, there you go. So we're going to open up that compression with more of a vertical crane occiput lift. The tables are perfect for this. Here we go. So palpating his cervical is actually connected to the T2. All right, end of the functional range of the neck is actually T4. So we got to clear the T2 before adjusting the cervical. To get to the upper thoracic, something that you could do is bring the elbows slightly up, direct the angle right here. There we go. Sweet, now we can clear the neck. C6 bilateral. Ooh. Watery, earthy neck. So now I learned a lot. I need to get a little bit more of a lateral bend, a little bit more rotation, more depth. There it goes. So TMJ, fixation on the right, connected with the C2. We're going to link them both. So I'm going to fire through my thumb and through my index finger here. Open the jaw slightly. This is posterior cord pull. So again, you'll be able to feel as I go to lift the neck, there's a restriction going to lift the neck up. Sometimes it's just in the joints. So you got military neck or you got anterior head carriers, different things. It's loading the posterior. Sometimes it's in the cord. So it's going to be a C5, C6 pull upwards. Mainly P to A, some I to S. I'm focusing on the cord through the facet joints. Full cord release all the way down the tailbone. You gotta rest and breathe. C6 anterior, we're gonna pull it with the index finger. So it's here. Main, well, we can do it here. So thumb connecting to the anterior part of the TP. Once you got it, it's coming through this way. That's a finesse adjustment. Once you learn the mechanics, it's easy. You gotta learn the mechanics of it. So right now, he's loading his cord a certain way because his feet are hanging off. So can you either pull that out? There we go. So that's the sensitivity you can build with your hands. Is like, where's something off? You're like, oh no, this is not right because of that. Okay. C6 bilateral from the left. This is some vagal nerve stuff. So it's anterior atlas. It's connected to his gut, which I think is connected to some of the skin stuff that's going on. Right there. Okay, I'll switch. Just keep your hand there. So we're gonna focus on. So right in front of the atlas, right, we have the carotid sheath, which houses the internal carotid artery and the vagus nerve. And so often you'll get vagal nerve issues with an anterior atlas. So I'm using my finger right on that anterior tip of the lateral mass of the atlas, or really the TP of the atlas. And we're gonna flick it this way. Is this helpful? So this is now C6 unilateral, so now vector's coming up this way through the single side facet. All right, sometimes you can just go on it, sometimes you can slide off it. Tim, if you ever watch Tim Young adjust, he'll slide through. So it's like, it's almost you use like the skin and the fascia to go through the facet joint. So you don't have to, like, again, if you guys are watching, there's not a lot of lateral bending, not a lot of rotation, right? This one has very little because you're staying on the same side. So really seeing just the C5, C6 facet on the left. So this one's actually more T1, T2. I'm just seeing if I can get to it from this position or if we want to change it up. So let's show like a T1, TP supine. So if I'm actually adjusting way deep on the MCP, going underneath, right medial to shoulder blade, here. C6 anterior on the right side. It's going to be a pull. This time I'll use a slight support hand, but my adjustment's firing through this finger here. Right through there, through the front to the back. So watch this right here. Set. Superior-posterior occiput on the right side. Okay, so we're here. We're going to set it back this way. Anytime we're adjusting occiput, you should see the chin go into a rocking motion. That means you're gliding the occipital condyle on the lateral mass. This way it's already starting to move. C1 anterior on the right side. It's really anterior lateral. It's going to be a fingertip push. So just the tip of my finger, this.
Thank you.
So I'm really drawn to the C2. How we doing? So C2 I find is to be a real emotional bone, can be. This one has a lot of motion to it. Because again, you'll pick up, oh yeah, okay, and there's a segmental joint dysfunction. Yeah, sure. And you'll start to find that there's something like when it's just physical, there's a certain buzz and a certain charge to it, the piezoelectricity that happens when you have the displacements at the facet joint, right? Because the bones themselves carry a level of piezoelectricity. And so anytime you have a slight derangement of that, it throws off the charge, and so you'll actually start to feel this little buzz, and that's what we're attracted to. We're crack addicts, right? But we come to it, but then there's something that's slightly, when we notice that it's slightly different, just ask yourself why. Right? Okay, that's different, why? So this one feels like a little more watery, a little more boggy. So actually, it does feel like a little heavier, slower vibration, denser, if you will. So then I just match tone, right? The only way I'm gonna get close to the bone, become the bone, I have to match the tone. And then matching the tone is typically when you'll feel like what it is. Breathe. Out. Breathe. It's a deep one. Breathe. Again, look at the face. It will tell you where it's holding, right? See all of the blood started changing, started to gather here, then there's a reason for that. Listen. So atlas is gone superior, so it's almost starting to tuck underneath the occiput. So it looks kind of like an occiput direction if it's superior posterior, but I'm connecting just to that atlas and I'm gonna scoop it down. More of a fingertip contact again. We had a big adjustment last year, I remember. First rib on the right. This one would be nice to do seated, but my tables are all flat, so I stand on the table. These ones are a little tilted. We can do it supine. So we're going to take, usually first rib, you're going to take a little bit more of an S to I angle, lateral to medial. My fingers are pretty strong. I've been a chiropractor for a while, so I can do tip of finger. If you can't, then you have to figure out how do I match my tools, right? But again, when you understand joint biomechanics, you shouldn't be meeting a lot of resistance, specifically if there's ease. Right, so you can use just fingers. Good. Okay. Is this helpful to watch?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys learning here? Yeah. A lot of the way teaching works is just through field attunement. So you guys, hopefully you leave here as fucking better adjusters. You don't have to fucking adjust anybody. That's cool. But we're gonna do that too. So this is disc level. C5, C6, disc level. Different depth, you're gonna see my posture change. I usually go wider, I become more earth. Earth helps provide the boundary for the water. Right, so disc, we're in the waters now. So I'm gonna hit it low. Breathe. Good. Disc has a little bit more of that lateral to medial. And I'll usually go like right above that. So C5, C6, we're going to the intervertebral disc. Go, whoom, scoop in. How is that? Go. C2, slightly different angle. We're coming up here. Anterior occiput, finger contact, sliding down this way. But I gotta scoop and it's gotta travel a little bit. So we don't want to just rotate it. We want to scoop it back, and so you should see the head translate just slightly. All of how I'm picking this up, great, because you guys are used to doing motion palp. I'm picking up the subtle tissue changes that are happening. That's it. Because the tissues will inform you what the pattern is all the way to the level of the vertebra, right? The fascia continues from the bone, right? It's like the deepest layer of the fascia into the muscle. From the muscle, you get a little bit more into the adipose tissue and then to the skin. So you have these three layers of fascia, superficial layer, middle layer, and a deep layer that go all the way into the osseous system. When you're first starting out, you have to go all the way to the bone, motion the joint, figure out the pattern of where there's a restriction or a fixation, then you try to clear the fixation. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna help you start focusing on facet joints and the tracks, okay? But what you're gonna get to is the ability to feel the pattern of that dysfunction all the way to the superficial layer. Eventually you just put your hands on it and you know, right? That makes sense? So you're catching, because again, you can't have a change in the osseous system without changing everything else. So all I'm doing is I'm using that initial compression, which has started out with a lot of range of motion. How do they rotate? How do they lateral bend? And how do they extend, right? But now I can just go, whoom. Oh yeah, C6 lateral, left. Hi.
Notice areas of street
Occiput C2 combo. So I'm gonna use, oh, she almost gave me the directions right there. That's cool. So 2 fingers going on occiput, 1 finger goes on the C2. I want to drive that occiput down and then also send the C2. So you should hear the difference. Yeah. Didn't hear, but fuck was clean. Sometimes you hear that kadoksi. I felt it, but it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, this one's cute. This is gonna be a little spinous flick. Shout out to Arnold. I learned this from Arnold. So C2, I feel like all the weight and the density is more at the spinous process instead of like in the body of the vertebra, so it's different. And so because of this, I'm just gonna, so just imagine you have a layer of fascia that's at the spinous process, then you have a deeper layer that's more around the bodies. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use that layer of fascia that's right at the spinous process, right at the tip, and just gonna connect the finger, and it's just gonna be a little flick. And so this one's gonna be a little bit more of a click. Then I get those are like cutesy adjustments. Click.
Very demure.
Very demure. This needs to be an occiput lift. We have
A chair? Yeah, there's one right there.
Is there?
Yeah.
Can I occiput lift you? Sweet. Have a seat, please. Yeah, like that. You've been shooting like that the whole time? Sweet. How we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Sore? Yeah, let's let it go, huh? Let this shoulder drop. Oh, that was it. Breathe. Let it out. Breathe. Yeah. Stay in the chair. You keep breathing. That's a lot of information to a system, you know? So you gotta be, you know, when you're delivering some of these adjustments, we gotta know, like, that's a lot of neural information. A lot of mechanoreception, specifically in the upper cervical area. So you do a double occiput lift, like, don't be like, oh, get off the table. No, like, fucking chill for a minute. One of the main reasons people don't heal is they don't give themselves space for integration. Especially in today's age, right? We have this big experience, we're on to the next thing. So there's for those that don't know, that's why I love the history of chiropractic. You find out what's been done before and what worked, you know? B.J. Palmer, when they used to go see him at the B.J. Palmer Clinic, which he had his own special clinic separate from the PSC, Palmer School of Chiropractic Clinic, right? His own special clinic. People fly around from the world to go spend time and heal from a variety of conditions at the B.J. Palmer Clinic. He'd send out letters to every other chiropractor, send me the cases that won't get well. So you know this. And how long would they stay there? Until they got well. So they had a hotel that was connected to it. And so they could be there 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month. You know how often they got checked? 4 times a day. You know how long they had to rest after an adjustment? 2 hours. If you want a certain result, you got to figure out what you got to do to create it. It's really that simple. Most people don't heal because they're trying to heal out of convenience. And healing is often inconvenient. Breathe. Okay. I think we're good for now. I'll get, when we close it,